afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Chicago 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame. It brings me great pleasure today to bring in another inductee who was inducted on October 26th and won the Frank Hollen Award. And that was on the 26th of October at the Drury Lane. The Hollen Award is awarded for the Hall of Fame inductee, Matt Dosen. But today we're going to call him Matty. Respect to, of course, his great father, Matt Dosen. I want to thank always the board, Paul Rowan, for taking the time every Saturday afternoon at 2:00. We are in front of a live audience today. So, and we're trying out a new mic so we can hear those applause and questions. And hopefully we'll get all that picked up here today. But I, again, thanking the board because this is just truly an honor to come to this building and to see everything that's around us. Hall of Famers in the audience, the jerseys, the memories, and so many things to look at. Well, Matt, let's finally bring you in here. What drives you to play the game? I mean, when was that first time when you thought, I know you tagged along a lot and started out as something called a bat boy?
Yep. Well, like a lot of softball players, I learned to love the game following my father to his games, and my dad started playing, back when he was a little kid, when they used to play it in gym class. Hopefully that'll come back around one of these days again, where kids can start playing at a young age. But yeah, I was born 1970. I would say mid 70s, mid to late 70s. If I didn't have a little league game myself, I always wanted to be with him and go to his games. Just not only because I enjoyed watching him play, he was a fine player and eventually a Hall of Fame player, but I just loved the camaraderie. It was great to see the guys interact with each other and talk to each other on the sidelines. And then after the games, we'd stick around for a little bit. My dad might have a beer with the guys and they would just, bust each other's chops. And I was like, wow, this is just a lot of fun. And his players were always very nice to me because I would be into the games, watch the games, be a bat boy, like you mentioned. So,
right.
I wasn't just, there because I didn't have anything else to do. I wanted to be there. I wanted to watch the games. I learned the game watching other players play. And, I took note of a lot of great players over the years and how they played the game, and kind of thought to myself, well, eventually one day I'm probably going to play this game because I love it. I was obviously hoping for a baseball career, which didn't pan out, but I knew softball was going to be something I was going to play in my future. So even at a young age, I kind of learned to watch what guys do, how they play the game on a smaller field. These big adults, playing with these short bases. I thought it was fascinating. Such a fast game.
Fast game.
Right. I think that's what drew kids to the game. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, they go watch their father, and the games were so fast.
Sure.
These guys were big and fast and strong and hit the ball so far. And it was just for an hour. It was nonstop entertainment.
Great point you bring up because, you look at the game, here's this ball and then you're throwing it underhand. And, over the years of talking to so many people about the game, you think the game would be slow, but you brought up the fact about, the short bases, shorter bases than the league ball game. And now you got to make that play. And it's got to be quick and it's got to be timing. And I mean, this ball's coming at you, especially those first innings and everything else. But I do love the fact about how you saw the camaraderie of the team game, starting with your father. Question for you. What is the age difference you think between you and Dad?
My dad's 82 and I'm 54.
Okay. So, as I read through some of the stuff, and of course on that East Sider team, when you guys got like Bob Pagoric, Tommy Newman, Joe Smody, Todd Mirabelli. I mean, seeing those guys too with him, that brings out that thing like, boy, I want to be like Mirabelli. I want to be like that. But the goal was to play with Matt.
Oh, for sure.
Matt Sr.
For sure. And those guys, some of those guys you just mentioned, Bob Pagoric's a great friend of my father. Tom Newman was pretty much my hero when I was a little kid, just watching him play the way he played. He was hard-nosed, fantastic hitter, was versatile, played everywhere in the infield. Todd eventually became a fantastic coach. My brother and I played on so many of his tournament teams that we won a lot of tournaments on the South Side, and Paul Rowan can attest to that.
Sure.
A lot of his Best of Westerns, which is one of the greatest tournaments ever invented. We were lucky to win a few of those games. And Joey Samodi, about 5'6", could hit a ball as far as anybody, and was a great outfielder for the East Siders. So, yeah, I was lucky to be around a lot of great guys, and they, even though I was a lot younger than those guys, they kind of treated me as equal when I was young. You know, when I first started playing, it wasn't like, oh, this little kid over here. No, you know, they knew I knew the game, so I think that's why they respected me. And even these guys here today, and I appreciate them all coming out.
Yeah, this is a great turnout here today, by the way. Yes,
a lot of my great friends, they're they've got a few years on me, but they're some of the best friends that I've made in softball. And I think that they respect me because of the way I respect the game, and I respect what they've done over the years. And, we've just, again, going back to the camaraderie part of it, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like playing the game and then going out and then talking about that game and then talking about a game from 10 years ago and then a game from 20 years ago and then a game from 30 years ago.
right.
It's just, it's what I enjoy the most about the spring and summer.
Do you remember the first time when Matt Senior? Do you remember that first time when he says, "Okay, hey, we got our first game together," and it's like Ken Griffey Senior and Ken Griffey Junior, basically.
For sure. No, I remember I was still in high school playing with Dago Park. He said, "Hey, you're coming out with us today." We played at Wolf Park.
How old were you then? You remember?
17.
Okay.
17.
Okay.
And he's like, "Come on, you're going to be on the team this year. Come out." And I was still playing baseball at the time, but if I didn't have a game, I was there. Wolf Park, it was a great neighborhood league on the far southeast side, and I didn't appreciate so much at that point, but then as I graduated college and started playing all the time, 100, 150 games, and then he was my teammate, that's when I really appreciated playing with him full time, because at that point he was into his mid to late 40s and into his 50s.
Wow.
And just real quick story, we're playing in the Grant Park tournament. It had to be, 95 more?
Mexican, I remember. Mick Balestra.
95, 96. We were playing with the old, the original snapper team from the southeast side. So Marty was playing short and my dad was playing third, and we played 8 games in one day at Grant Park on a 90-degree day.
Woo!
And he was 53, 54 years old at the time.
Wow.
So
and he was holding up pretty good, the old guy.
He held up pretty. His older brothers were so mad at him for playing so many games in one day. But yeah, it was one of those great. We lost our first game the night before, and we played 8 games on Saturday, and that's when I was like, I just sat back. I'm like, this guy he's unbelievable, but he loved it. He looked forward to playing. I know he wanted to keep playing, to play with Marty and I, and was able to do that. And I cherish every moment of it. And now I get to play with my kids. So there's
right. But again, you had to have that concern. Here's a guy at his age playing in 8 games, whatever it was, 90 human, I'm sure.
I should have. I didn't.
You did.
I should have been concerned.
You were in the outfield, right?
I was in the outfield.
So now you're watching him playing in the infield, and he's holding up pretty good on a hot day.
It was holding up very, very well. Very, very well. He kept himself in good shape, and he's still in good shape today.
Baker ran that team correctly.
I actually ran this team. I was lucky enough to play with Patty Caputo.
We're going to bring up Pat in this next thing. From
92 to 94. But this was right after that, when Marty wanted to play full time and my dad wanted to play. I wanted to get back to playing with them, because I knew my dad, the years were, they were creeping up on him, and I wanted to play a few years with them.
Wow, that's something that you still wanted to, and you saw that he could still do it.
Yes, he was still batting second, probably in the order.
He wasn't like that hangnail on the team, not at all. You go to Lewis University.
Yes.
We had something in common. We found out here before we went on today that we went for the same kind of a thing, the journalism thing. and you're over there, and you get a call from the Hall of Famers in our offense today, Pat Caputo, to play on that.
In my dorm room.
Yeah.
In my dorm room, I just
So what is he looking for? Is he looking for a guy who can cover the gaps? He's looking for a guy who could
specifically.
dive and crash. What was he looking for,
Well,
Caputo?
he called me up and he said that, hi, my name's Pat Caputo, and I run a team called Ice, and Bobby Russ is on the team. Bobby recommended I give you a call. His brother Randy who had played on Ice for a year or two, was getting the call up to the big leagues, play with Splinters.
Oh.
So it was a great opportunity for Randy to go from, A ball to major ball. And Patty's like, I know you could play the outfield. Would you like to join the team? Well, I was playing with Dago Park at the time, and I called my dad up. I'm like, Dad, what do you think? He's like, he gave me the best advice. He said, Matty, he goes, you could play in the neighborhood for anytime you want. Get outside the neighborhood, meet new guys, play against different competition. And he gave me his the full support. And for 3 years, I had a great time and met one of my best friends, Patty and Ronnie Matriciano. Pretty much
They were co-coaching at that time, right? Yeah.
And my first year at 21 years old, we were able to run the table and go undefeated in the A Nationals in Indianapolis. And Patty was MVP. Bobby Russ will bust his chops about that MVP, but quick story. Bobby hit, I think 650 in that, but unfortunately there was another first baseman, John Lynch, who hit 680.
Holy cow.
And Bobby didn't even make first team All-American, but Bobby, in any other tournament, Bobby would have been MVP. But that was a great year. I mean, that was so much fun. We didn't have a great hitting team, but there's no team that played better defense than us. And it started with one of the best pitchers of all time up the middle with Patty.
Yeah, we hear that a lot about Pat in a lot of these interviews.
Believe me,
yeah.
I tell it like it is. And Patty was in this crowd right here. You have a top 5 defensive pitcher and a top 5 hitting pitcher with Mickey Balestri right here, sitting next to each other. In my opinion. Before we get off ice, the next year, what I think is remarkable is after winning the A Nationals in '92, we had to move up to Major Nationals in '93, and we finished 3rd in the Major Nationals. Just about the same team. We lost Bobby Russ. We picked up a few other players, but to go from A ball, winning the A ball, to Major the next year and finishing 3rd in the Nationals with basically the same team, I think is a great accomplishment.
Yeah, that is fantastic, without a doubt. This progression, of course, you got that. You're playing with the ice team and everything. Now I notice you get involved with you now want to be the manager kind of player type situation. It was this the progression you wanted for this game? I mean, because maybe you saw it in the early years with Dad.
Well, I think Marty could probably back it. As a firstborn type A personality, I was kind of always like an organizer, even though when I was a little kid. So I love the game, and I took on I was in my mid-20s when I ran the snapper team, and I got all the sponsors. I ran a raffle for uniforms and the fees, and I don't know, maybe I was just a glutton for punishment, but I love and now even coaching. I love the coach. I love to organize, and it was a fun couple of years when I ran my snapper team. And then we went our separate ways. Really started with Marty became to be a great player and moved up to major ball. We lost our best player. So then I bounced around with a few teams, and then in the late 2000s I came back and ran a team again. But I guess it was just a kind of natural progression.
When you look back at it, you wonder. I mean, even these guys, sometimes they'll tell me stories, like you did the 8 games that you played with your dad, and sometimes I bet you all you guys in this room played, maybe on an average, maybe 5 times 7, maybe 35, 40 games a week. Do you ever look back at it and say, wow, I organized, I put teams together, I played? You look back at it and say, wow, how did I have the time for it?
No, you're right. No, I haven't done that yet. I'm sure when my time, comes to an end, which probably won't be that much longer, I'll look back and say, you know what, it was a lot of fun. You can't do it with a lot of help from a lot of people. You got to have guys that are committed to the game. We talk about commitment in today's game, but back then when I was doing it, guys it was just I think an easier time for guys to get away. you know, what I think travel sports, one thing nobody talks about is travel sports takes a lot of time
Oh,
from guys that
weekends
are
away,
playing.
weekends
Yes,
away. Right, right,
yes, and we
right.
didn't have that back then. So, you know, guys played and they went home. Some guys didn't go home, but you know, most guys went home and were able to play on the weekends.
You went back and played again with like Cardinal Fitness and that
Yeah,
Rogers.
Cardinal Fitness again. Um, I wanted to run a team again, so I put together a pretty nice squad. We finished third in the A Nationals that year with a lot of neighborhood guys. And then Rogers Roofing the next year was kind of the solid, a lot of the same guys. Was able to merge there with Richie Hennessy and Ronnie Risden, and you know, a couple other Hall of Famers on that team. Steve Cuss, who I think one day is going to be in the Hall of Fame, and just good guys, good committed guys. And we had a really solid 2 years there. Jimmy Moretti joined us in 2011. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and you know, I stepped away for
Right,
a few years,
right.
played, and now I'm back again running teams.
You know, I'm gonna bring up some guys. Some of these people are here today. You played for a bunch of teams, a myriad of teams. It was unbelievable. All right, I'm gonna mention some names. Mickey Balustri, Dean Pritt. I might chop up this name pretty bad here. Cyrus Vich and Bob Rasha. I mean, just again, as you're playing at the level of all these guys, did you keep learning the progression?
Absolutely. I'm still learning.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm definitely, I still learn, you know, this game is ever evolving. And now I think it's more about managing, the person's the player's expectations and not so much their talent. It's what do they expect to get out of this team, their play, what are their goals?
Right.
You know, people play this game for different reasons, and that's one thing I really have to improve on is you know, why it's important to me is not why it's important to somebody else on the team, you know. So I've got to take that into consideration, and that's one thing I definitely have to do a better job, and hopefully starting this year, that'll be something that is a little easier for me.
It's great that you are still giving back and want to bring something new to the table all the time. This is fantastic. So, as I read through this, now you're involved with your sons,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how many do you have?
I have
And
three boys.
are they all playing?
They all play, and you know, their level of commitment's a little bit different. You know, they're not diehards like my brother and I.
Or all these gentlemen that are in this room?
Yes,
Yeah.
but they enjoy the play, and when they come, they play hard,
Right.
which I really love. You know, once they step between the lines, they're there to win, and they're disappointed when they don't, and they're happy when we do. So you know, during the COVID year, I put together a team in the Itasca League, and my brother, myself, and my three boys were on the team, and we won the league. So, you know, there were games where all five of us were in the lineup, and I think I had one lineup where we all five of us batted back
Oh,
to
wow.
back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, stuff like that is, you know, you'll never forget things like that.
No, without a doubt. I mean, to play with them, you played with your dad. I mean, just that whole camaraderie of the sport. We talk about commitment level now and how the game has changed. I mean, you know, like I says, I come here every Saturday, hear the stories from all these gentlemen. Do you think, and because you're still involved as that organizer, that manager, do you think we could see this game back to the level, let's say, of the 80s?
I think we might, you know, again, I think travel sports, I think that it might be cyclical. I think it's, you know, I look back when my boys played travel and it wasn't nearly as expensive as it is now, and the commitment and the travel. And you think that one day these parents are just going to say enough is enough with
Right.
spending $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 on these travel programs. To me, it's ridiculous. They spend three times as much money trying to get their kid a scholarship than their kid's going to earn in scholarship money for
Sure.
college. So, you know, I think that I think we will see it eventually. You know, I think it will come back because, you know, the game itself is in its purest form is still a phenomenal game. And I just think that eventually it's going to come back. It's going to have to start at the park level. It's not going to just start at, you know, level we're playing at right now. It's got to start at the park level. It's got to grow organically. And I think it will. And I'm hoping that, you know, when Marty's sons are old enough, and if my sons keep playing, I hope they keep playing at the park level. And, you know, it'll get to that point again where, you know, every park in Chicago has a league, you know, because
Yeah,
when my dad played, they were playing 3 days a week, 4 days a week at different Chicago park districts, and
and they were all flooded with teams.
and three different leagues a day.
Sure.
And they were all going. They're all going. So hopefully it'll get back, and I think it will. I think it will.
I'm gonna go back to Dad because I
Okay.
just love the story of Dad because I
Talk about my dad all day.
yeah, nothing better than talking about parents or dad for me. Is there a game before I'm gonna go to a thing with it we now just started doing? That's why this microphone is out now today, where they're gonna ask you some questions. I'm gonna hit on them to ask you some questions. But do you remember a game when you, Matty Dosen, and Matt Dosen were all on all cylinders that day? Or do you remember a game that stands out in mind about you or your dad that you played on that game?
Absolutely. There was one in particular, and Mickey can attest. Mickey and I talk about this all the time. It was.
Remember, I only have 30 minutes left.
Sure. No.
This was only one pitch.
Okay, all right.
So it was 1989.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 1990. I was 19 years old. I was on Dago Park. We're playing in a tournament in Calumet City. It was the Joe Salties, who was a fantastic player himself. It was a MIA POW charity tournament. And to get to the championship team, we had to beat Bobby and Randy Russ and Egg Zarnik. Our first game, we beat the team called the Gamblers, who was a fantastic game. In the second game, we get to the championship game and play Mickey's Crush. So we're in the championship of the winners bracket. It's late in the game. I think it was either tied or we're down a run, and I'm on second base. Okay. So I take my lead. Mickey takes his drag step. He goes back to fake, and I yell, "Come on!" My dad's up at the plate. I'm on second base. I said, "Come on, Dad!" And Mickey stops as he takes his fake. He looks back at me and says, "Hey, is that your dad?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "He's a good hitter." And then pitched the ball, and my dad got a hit and drove me in, and drove me in.
He had the time to talk.
Yeah. It was the craziest thing.
Based on bad management, I should have walked him.
And Mick, you had no conception that it was his dad at that time. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of how Mickey and I met. And then we, you know, after the game, there was a rain delay, I think. So, because we went to the bar that sponsored the tournament, and I talked to Mickey for an hour. My dad talked to him, and then I met young Mickey, and that's kind of how the relationship started.
Oh,
But
wow. I mean, what a story.
To stop his in his fake and look at me and say, "Is that your dad? He's a good hitter."
Basic.
We did take him to the if game, but as the tournament went on, they added 2 more Filkins as the game went on, and we just couldn't catch him.
Okay.
I think
he walks in and Randy got sandals on and he's walking a dog.
Oh, God.
All of a sudden he puts his spikes on, keeps running out of.
There's no roster. It was a non-roster tournament. We were well within the rules.
Too many Filkins for that.
So I think we won 19,
Too many Dosens.
and I think the game went into like 1 o'clock, and it was like 1918, the championship game. So
Wow.
yeah, so
Incredible.
that's the one time I remember specifically a game with my father, and that game, and then led me to a long-standing relationship with Mickey.
Did Dad hear him say to you that from where?
I don't think so. I think I told him after.
Yeah, incredible.
Did he pound
Did he? Oh, did he? What did he? Yeah. Did he line it, or was it a dump on you?
He spaced the ball to right field like he always does.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad, when people remember my dad late in the years, they think of him as his best ball was just like a push it over the first baseman.
Right. Yeah, that style.
But my dad was a gap hitter. He wasn't a big guy, but he was strong, and he was a doubles, triples guy in the right center, left center gap.
He could do it.
Yeah, he was
something else.
But I think the thing I remember most, and I think Marty probably does too, is his release when he was an infielder. And I think Frank Lentine could verify this. My dad had a lightning fast release. He didn't have the strongest arm, but the ball was in and out of his hands quick. And guys would get frustrated because the ball would, you think that you're going to beat the throw, and the ball would just beat you right before you get
like
the
a whole
fake.
timing
Yes.
thing. Yeah. Oh, wow. Incredible. I got to ask you, because it's always just, I love to hear these stories. Since I've been here, the guy who, I haven't even told Paul this, I get a call once a week from a guy named Kevin Lund. I mean, he goes, "Johnny, you doing anything?" "No, I'm just working, Kevin." And he goes into a 3-hour story, but it's just incredible, those memories and everything else.
He was one of the original grunters, Kevin Lund.
Kevin Lund.
But only when the ball was going over somebody's head. Not when he popped up the ball.
You run the first with the head down.
You know, but Kevin could hit a
Oh.
ball as anybody because he swung from his heels, which my son Marty, his swing reminds me a lot of Kevin Lund's. They don't get cheated.
Right?
They may fly out, but they're not going to get
They're not
cheated,
gonna
and
get
they're going to
cheated.
swing as hard as they can. They're not going to try to push the ball or cut the ball or directional hit the ball. They're going to swing from their heels, and a lot of times it's going to be hit hard. Sometimes it's not, but Marty hasn't gotten to the grunt part yet, though, like Kevin Lund.
You remember a tournament where you guys were almost down and out and you guys came back? It was the dad years.
No, I got a great one for you.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
I got a great one for you. So,
And this one, you're thinking it's over.
for sure. I'm thinking it's over. This is a game. We didn't fare very well in the tournament, but this is one game in the Chicagoland Championships in 2019. My brother and I were both playing with a team called the Donuts,
Okay.
and we were playing Chucks from Iowa.
Great fit.
And we
Are you in Marshalltown?
we're in Mount Prospect.
On Prospect.
Chicagoland Championships, and we just couldn't do anything all day. We couldn't hit. We're making errors. We're playing terrible. So we get to the seventh inning, bottom of the seventh, and we're down 8 or 9 going in, and we both batted twice, and in the inning we both had 4 hits, and it was culminated with a down a run, 2 outs, and they walked Matty Richards to get to Marty, and he got a cut down the left field line, drove in the tying and the winning runs. We scored, I think, 9 or 10 in the bottom of the 7th to win.
And there were 2 outs.
Mostly it was after 2. We scored 7 after 2 or 8 after 2.
Wow.
So that was great. There's been other games where we've come back and won. But to do it with your brother and to be able to both produce in that inning, that was a lot of fun.
Dad at that one?
I don't think Dad was, but my girlfriend Josephine was there. So
Okay,
she was
good.
going crazy. She was going crazy down the line.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Well, I mean, what a great memory, because you talk about that one all the time over that beer or over that holiday whenever you guys get together. That's the love of this for sure. I'm going to reach out to now the audience.
Okay.
To get some questions, guys, if you want to just speak it up. I know we got the new mic here and everything, but just to test it. So everybody's going to get a shot at this. State your name and something you want to ask them, a question or a memory. Go. We'll start. Go.
There, Big Mick will start.
Okay, Mick Balestri.
I'll tell you, jumping back to what you said about playing with your family. I played with everybody in his family.
Wow.
And he's played with my son and my nephew. Marty has 2. Now my nephew's playing with him. My son played with him a couple of years ago. Marty, Maddie, Mick, we were all on the same team in the Nationals.
Wow.
So you talk about family history, it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
Very similar.
It's become generational. Yeah.
And that, and the love of the game you have with your family, it beats all.
For sure.
I'm going to tell you that, and that's a given. And I'll give you one more. I believe it was your father's last year when we were with the kids. We were playing at Clyde Park. We had 9 guys. Maddie, your dad was catching. We had 9 guys. 2 outs, 2 on, bottom of the 7th. Maddie comes up, it's a cut ball, line drive, ground ball between short and third, goes through the infield, walk off hit. It's the last game I played with his dad.
Oh, wow.
2002, 2003.
We were in lane at Clyde Park. There 2 or 3.
Great memory, Mick. The memory is awesome.
My dad was 60. That might have been his last swing. 60. He was
Wow.
61. My
I
dad.
remember that as
Ready.
supposed to be, and he was mad because he didn't hit the line or the left field because he didn't think he was gonna get through, but it was placed so perfect that nobody was gonna get it.
Incredible.
He happened to go through the hole.
Wow.
But these are memories.
Yeah, great memories. Great.
Families don't get no greater than that.
Who's next?
Come on, Richie.
Yeah.
Richie, you got to have something.
Besides your father and
Ben, if you want to just speak it up a little bit. So, no, go ahead.
besides your father and your brother, who is your favorite player to play with?
Oh, that's a loaded question. With all the present.
Everybody here, everybody here is exempt. You're on your own.
Okay. Oh my God.
Oh, there goes all the friendships.
That is hard. That is hard.
Yeah, it's a-
I'm in the top 3.
All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna go somebody that's outside. Somebody that's outside here. Oh boy. My favorite player to play with. Tommy Newman,
It's the number one.
Tommy Newman only because I idolized him. You know,
Wow.
he
Sure.
he was if you didn't know Tommy, he was tough.
This was
He-
on
he-
that, you played with him on that East Siders?
East Siders,
Yeah,
Dago
yeah.
Park, and a lot of tournaments.
Sure.
Tommy was tough on umpires. He had his license plate was umpater. That was his license plate. Umpater 1, and his wife was umpater 2.
You probably can't get that nowadays, you know?
So, but Tommy was a hell of a player, and I just looked up to the guy because of the way he played. One of Marty and I's good friends, Steve Ruzich. Stevie's not a guy that's super well known within the major softball circuit, but if you play with Stevie, you love Stevie as a teammate. A very good player, always played hard, fantastic guy, great friend. And I probably played after Marty. I probably played more games with him than anybody else, with all the park tournaments and leagues throughout the years. Dave Bradle's another one, very good friend of mine. You know, I probably played Dave's probably the second, the person I played the most games with.
Wow.
Dave's in that. You know why I love those guys? Every time I ran a team and got in a tournament, those were the first calls, and they never said no.
Never.
I'm in. Scotty Toothpick. Same thing. Scotty, you need a player? Yes, I'm in. And you know, going back recently, I get a team in the Terry Moran tournament, which I think is a fantastic tournament run by Pat. His late father tragically, you know, died in the 90s. And Tommy Lentine Sr. is the first guy I talked to, and he never says no to me whenever I ask him to play.
Wow.
So, you know, and his boys are always play. So guys that never say no to me when I ask them to play, those are always my favorite players. Those are always my favorite players. Right. But these two guys that mean the most to me, all right, those are my favorite guys. All right. Outside my brother here, these two guys mean the most to me in the game.
That's fantastic. We got one more from the audience. Yeah, Tim Dalton.
So kind of on top of that question, so you named like favorite players that you played with. Who's somebody that you didn't get to play with, but you always kind of wished, I wish I was on the field with this guy and got a chance?
That's a fantastic
That's
question.
a great question.
I think about that a lot. I've been begging Anthony Tyler to play with me in the 15 over nationals, and he refuses to play. But I haven't never played one game with Anthony Tyler. I would have loved to have played a game with him. That's a guy that, you know, was just a devastating hitter for a decade, and would have loved to play a game with him. Angelo Alicia was a guy I never got to play with until the 15 over, and I've just enjoyed just being. You can't help but learn stuff from Angelo just watching him play. He's the guy. The guy is amazing. I'm trying to think of some other guys that I've never played with. I've been around so long and played so long. I've played a lot of guys in tournament play. I don't think I ever played a game with Randy Russ. Randy Russ was a guy I never played with, and I would have
Intramurals with Lewis.
Yeah, I played intramurals at Lewis. We had a really pretty good softball team in intramurals at Lewis. But I never played a competitive 16-inch game with Randy. So he's another guy that I never played with. Mike Tallow. I would have loved to have played behind Mike Tallow for just one game. I never got the opportunity. Quick story. Richie Hennessy and I talk about this all the time. My dad, I think, has got the best saying about Mike Tallow. When we be driving through on the expressway past downtown, he would say, "Maddie," he said, "you see the Sears Tower there?" I say, "Yeah." He said, "You see all the other buildings there?" I say, "Yeah." He said, "That Sears Tower's Mike Tallow. All those other buildings are everybody else that."
Wow.
He said he's the Sears Tower of pitchers.
Of the pitchers, yeah, without a doubt.
Revolutionized the game. I don't think there's anybody else. Maybe Bobby Lamont with the cut ball. Maybe, he revolutionized, and then Jake Jacoby took it to another level. But in terms of revolutionizing the game, I can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody else.
Put them at that, that analogy. Rich?
Richie Hennessy, I got three things.
Okay.
Touched on a lot of this already with the family. Mick brought up how important it was. You guys have a uniqueness, and I may be wrong, but I only know of a father and two sons that are in the 16 Softball Hall of Fame. Bob Russ Senior, Bobby Junior, and Randy. Okay, the Russ's father and two sons. And your dad, Matt Senior, yourself, and Marty, who's here today. That is what family's all about. That's how the game was passed down. And to have you to be able all be in the Hall of Fame, that's pretty incredible.
An incredible feat.
It really is. And that's kind of the fabric of our game.
Right.
Okay, is passing it down to generations and then achieving at that level. Big accomplishment. I always have laughed with Maddie about the DNA. Your dad, great hitter, great fielder. You got his great defense, and Marty got the great hitting. You know. Yeah.
Marty, take it up. Take it outside. Take it outside. You know, we can't have this here.
But your main thing was your defense. You were incredible defensive outfielder.
Thank you.
And Marty, I don't know anybody else. I can't think of too many people that got as many clutch hits as this guy did in big games through his career. Okay. Lastly, pleasure playing for you when you were as a manager. Okay, for the love of the game that you had. Okay, and then all the years we played together as teammates.
Wow.
You are a true Hall of Famer.
That's very nice of you to say. Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, Rich. Really well said with you. Marty, I'm going to lean on you now. Because you've been the quiet one here. What are you going to say about this? What do you?
The quiet brother.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, quiet and the better hitter. Okay, we know that.
To talk about himself.
No, but anything you.
No, I'm saying, tell us a game that sticks out for him that he did something. What is greatest game?
I'm like my dad. I think more of the errors and outs I made than I did the hits.
I got one. Nationals, Arizona,
Very good.
2 outs, 2 on, bottom of the 7th.
Wow.
We're up 1. We're playing Wally Pex in the first game of the Nationals, 8 a.m, Saturday morning. Mark Forgetto hits a cut liner to left field. Matty comes running in, dives, snow cones it, rolls over, holds it up, game over. There's a memory.
You remember it?
I remember, you know what I
There's a
meant?
memory.
You know what I remembered most about that is
The cousin's
I
wedding.
was out there for my cousin's wedding and I had about 25 family members watching that game.
Wow.
And after going back to the beginning of the game, I got a hit and got thrown out trying to stretch it a single into a double my first time up. So that was a little embarrassing. But after that play, we won the game, and I remember big Mitch Grubasic running out there. Mitch is about 6'4", running out, Matty, like that. And then he picked me up. He picked me up and he carried me off the field. And I remember my cousin just kind of, just clapping for me as I came off. So that definitely was one of the more memorable.
Well, I gave it for that long wedding, wasn't it?
More memorable. Yeah. Well, it was a very memorable game. Yeah, for sure.
Well, they were the favorites of
Sure.
the Nationals. The Rascals were favored to win
Yeah,
it.
because they just dropped down.
Right, they were favored to win
I
it.
got 2 things before we let you go.
And we got to talk. Okay.
Frank Lantigna.
What do you say about man, okay? In the late 60s and in the 70s, team East Siders was a detriment to our Bobcat team. We refused to try and play them guys because we always had a rough ring and they always beat the hell out of us. Played in the Trumbull Park League and all the.
Frank, he just didn't match up with him well, or what was the deal?
They had our number. They didn't like Eddie Zola too well, but they were really good players. And we respected that too, because they were the East Siders were, that was something that we always said, God bless, they were on the East Side. The other thing I want to stress with Manny too is, we need your help in trying to figure out the success of how to organize and how to create organizers, because the game is losing the organizers to get the game going. If you have any ideas on how we can try capturing some of these younger players and say, be an organizer, be a manager, because it seems like it's just going south and up again. Success you've had being an organizer and all that stuff, we could use it as a nice model going forward.
I want to ask Paul Rowan a question. Paul, anything you want to add to this today, and something you want to ask Maddie?
Oh, no, I mean, I'll just say, I've known Maddie a long time, we're Mount Carmel.
Okay.
That's probably, but Maddie, kind of along the same lines as I came up is with a neighborhood team. You started with a neighborhood team and you
Sure.
stuck with it. I mean, my guys, we stayed together forever and I never really moved up, beyond that, but, what he's done and what he's done from his playing skills to his managing skills now and continuing to try and improve the game and grow the game is what, like Frank says, what we need.
Oh, sure, without a doubt, without a doubt.
And I've asked Matt for his help when we can get it, because I think a good collaboration of, I'm a little older, I'm 68 now, and I've got some time left to still help grow the game and keep it going, and I just congratulate Matt for all he's done and really congratulate him on a well-deserved honor in being in the Hall of Fame.
Tom Lentine.
Tommy Lentine.
The one thing I really appreciate about you is how you manage tough egos. I mean, you've had guys play with us at Moran tournament, your money line teams that a lot of guys wouldn't put up with. And you have that gift to make sure that they play on your team and they know what's expected, but they don't dominate you or they don't push you and
Wow.
they don't intimidate you. I mean, that's a testament to your character and your families, that you stick to your guns and do it your way, and the team way. And I think that's something to be proud of, because, I mean, I run Mark's team, but I never had any close to the drama sometimes that I know you've had over the years, and you do a great job with it. So I mean, hats off to you for that.
You were gonna say something
Yeah.
after Tommy here before I said
Yeah,
a couple things.
Just cut me off when you need to.
I will.
I'd be remiss. I want to make sure that, the real reason I'm here is Frank Holen
Okay,
and this
yes.
award. So, what he did for the game with his family kind of mirrors what, me, getting in with my father and my sons. He was a great American, a patriot, a great father, great organizer. And, I've been lucky to wear a lot of hats in this game. I certainly am not in the Hall of Fame because of my play. It's probably more so for the organization and the other things that I've done. And it was an honor. And I want to thank Richie Hennessy and Mickey for definitely being the ones to push for this honor. And, when Richie talks about all the things, that's why I do look back and I'm like, wow, I kind of have done a lot of different things in the game, but that I'm proud to say that I had the opportunity to do it.
Sure.
And I only did it because of all the people that I've been around, and my family. So very lucky. Frank, may you rest in peace, and all the Holen family, thank you for signing off on the award.
Well, I got to tell you, I always ask this question to all the Hall of Famers. So, and I got to tell you, I think this has gone a little longer than we thought, but it's been very energized conversation here today. What goes through your mind when you get the call from the board or a Paul Rowan? Where were you when Paul Rowan called you?
I was shocked when Paul called me up, because I know that there were a couple other people that were considered, and I thought that they were well deserving of it. And so I didn't think that the call was going to come. And when Paul called me, I was like, I was really in shock. I know that, Richie and Mickey, were going to bat for me. It's a great honor, because this game, after, my kids and my family and my health and God, and it's softball. Softball is a way of life for me, and it hopefully will be until the day I die. I hope I'm always around the game and these guys.
Man, I got to tell you, just looking at that last two paragraphs of this and how you described Holen, of course, he dedicated his energy, his time, his money, his hard work. You had such admiration for him. You mirrored him, basically. I mean, you're an homage to him. It's amazing. But I just love this last line. I just love it. And this is what you say. Giving back to the game is giving us a lifetime of memories and friendships to me. That is the spirit of the Frank Holen Award. It is truly an honor to be considered for this award. Matt Dosen, I know you wanted to respect your dad today, call your dad Matt, to call you Matty. This was truly an honor today. This was one of the unbelievable stories. And
thank you, John. I appreciate it. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah,
well.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much. I love being here. I love all these guys. Joe Polito, we got. Oh, Joe, no. Joe, you've been playing possum over here. Go ahead, Joe. You can close it up.
I heard this story about 1,000 times.
No, go ahead, Joe.
They called him up just to ask him where he got the phone call. Where was he?
Where was he? Where were you?
In my dorm room? I was in my dorm room. Yeah.
Yeah.
From Patty. I was in my dorm room.
Wow. Yeah.
I heard that story.
And my roommate was this guy right here at the time. And he's like, what's going on?
Patty never called.
Okay.
You
You know, again, you got Hennessy and Patty to deal with. All right, listen, I want to thank everyone again today for taking the time to come out, our Hall of Fame audience. And again, the board, Paul Rowan, this was fantastic. And again, our inductee today, Matt Dosen, the Frank Holden Award on October 26th. Well-deserved, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Well-deserved.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next Saturday at 2:00 for another inductee.